Alright guys, this week I'm going to be showing you how to make homemade fondant because you kept asking for it again and again and again and again. My name is Lori and you're watching The Icing Artist. To make this recipe, you really only need 3 ingredients: sifted icing sugar, marshmallows, and water. But of course, I'll be leaving the full recipe with all the ingredients and all the measurements in the description box below for you. I know what you guys are thinking. Do you really need to sift that icing sugar? Yes, you really need to sift that icing sugar. I made some fondant without sifting the icing sugar, and you can see all of the icing sugar lumps all throughout the fondant that do not get incorporated at all. It just stays lumpy like that. It's really terrible. So sift that icing sugar. Now, a few other ingredients you guys can use to make your fondant, but you don't absolutely need, are vegetable shortening, which is going to help your fondant from sticking to your hands and your surface. Nobody likes sticky hands. And the last ingredient you guys can use is some kind of flavoring. I'm going to use a clear vanilla extract, but you guys could have fun with this and use like a watermelon or orange or strawberry or caramel and really add a fun flavor to your fondant. But again, you don't need it. It's just if you want to have fun. I'm going to start off by greasing my bowl and my spatula with my vegetable shortening so those sticky marshmallows do not stick all over everything. Now I'm using gelatin-free vegan marshmallows, but you guys can use regular marshmallows for this. The recipe works the exact same way. And I'm just going to add my water right on top of that, and if you guys are adding a flavoring, you'll add that at this point as well. I'm going to start heating my marshmallows up in the microwave for 30 seconds each time, stirring after each time, really making sure that you're getting all of that water coating all those marshmallows. The thing I love about this recipe, besides it being 3 ingredients, is that you can do the whole thing in one bowl and in the microwave so you don't have that big mess. Now you're really looking for those marshmallows to be silky smooth and really melted down and all kind of smooth and melted marshmallow looking. And personally, I like to use mini marshmallows because I find they melt down a lot easier than the jumbo marshmallows or big marshmallows, but you guys can use whichever ones you want. They work the same. Okay, now the lazy part of this recipe is done. It is time to work really quickly because you want to get all that icing sugar incorporated into your marshmallows before those marshmallows start to cool and set. This part is a little bit of a pain. I started off by adding 2.5 cups of my sifted icing sugar into my marshmallows and started folding that together. I was kind of folding up from the bottom and then kind of folding that into the center and away from the sides and kind of into the center because you're really just trying to fold all the icing sugar into those marshmallows so it's like kind of more like a dough. This process is going to take a couple minutes, but you really just want to make sure most of that icing sugar is going to be folded into that fondant. It's not quite forming together like a dough like I want it to yet, so I'm going to add another 1/2 cup of icing sugar and continue folding that. You really want it almost holding together, not like a stiff ball, but just like a ball. And that is exactly what I'm looking for. So now that that's done, I'm going to set that aside and get my surface ready to knead it all together. Again, I'm just going to get that vegetable shortening out. I'm going to rub that all over my surface and over my hands, plop my almost fondant down onto my surface. Now it's time to knead that fondant, so I'm going to be adding in 1/2 cup of icing sugar at a time and just working that with my hands. You don't want to add too much icing sugar at once because if you do that, the marshmallows are going to cool down too quickly and then they're going to be kind of stuck and holding their shape and they're not going to have that elasticity that we're looking for. At least I think that that's what it is. Not an expert on fondant. This was just trial and error, and this is kind of what worked for me. Okay, so this process took me about 10 minutes of just kneading straight with my hands, and my hands killed for like 2 days after this. So if your guys' hands hurt, it's not just you. I've got weak hands too. You guys can tell if it's the right consistency or not by just pulling a piece of the fondant and seeing how far it stretches. This fondant still seems a bit soft for me because if I tried to cover a cake with this fondant, because it's so stretchy still, it's likely to tear. I want it holding together a bit more. So you're really just looking for it to stretch and then break after a few inches. Now, if you guys live in a really warm or humid climate, you might need to add in more icing sugar because the air is going to be so hot and you want that fondant staying together. But if you live in a much cooler climate, you might not need to add as much icing sugar because the fondant's already going to be cold and you want it to be more on the soft side to be able to work with it. Now, this is the perfect consistency that I'm looking for. I can stretch it out and it still has that nice stretch and elasticity that I want, except it does snap after a few inches, showing me that it's going to hold together when I try to cover my cakes with fondant. But if you guys add in too much icing sugar, this is more what it's going to look like. It's going to be really stiff and really brittle, and when you guys go to pull a piece apart, it's going to snap. You're losing all that elasticity because there's not as much marshmallow in your fondant anymore, it's more icing sugar, so you don't get that same stretch. Again, I think. Now, of course, when you guys are making your fondant, you control the consistency. You control what kind of fondant that you want, and you can do that by, again, adding more icing sugar to have more of a stiff consistency or adding water to have a softer consistency. Once you're happy with the consistency of your fondant, you are done. It is time to let it set. So I just rub mine all over with vegetable shortening so it doesn't stick to my saran wrap, and double saran wrap that so it doesn't get any of those dry edges on it. And now you guys are just gonna pop this in the fridge for about 12 to 24 hours for it to fully set up, and then you're good to go. You're ready to cover your cake in fondant or make little figurines or make little decorations that you're gonna use on your cake, whatever you're using your fondant for. And of course, the most important test, the taste test. How does marshmallow fondant measure up to store-bought fondant? So I've got my store-bought fondant here. Fondant-y. Yeah, I've had fondant a number of times. It just kind of tastes like fondant to me. I don't know how to describe the flavor. That's what it is, but I'm curious how this one will measure up to it. Clear out my mouth with all that fondant. It tastes very marshmallowy. Like I have the vanilla extract in there, so I feel like it has like a nice vanilla-y, marshmallowy flavor, but still kind of like fondant. Of course, you guys can have so much fun with the flavors and make it your own, but I do prefer the taste of the marshmallow to the regular store-bought fondant. If you guys want to see some more basic videos like how to make buttercream icing, how to cover a cake in fondant, how to ice a cupcake, all that good stuff, I will leave my Back to the Basics playlist right here. Just click the I. Now make sure to come back in a couple weeks because I'm going to be showing you guys fondant basics, how long your fondant lasts for, how to store it, how to color it, how to work it, all that different kind of stuff, so stay tuned. And let me know in the comments below, do you guys want to see more videos like this? Have you made marshmallow fondant? Do you prefer the taste to regular fondant? I want to know. And I will see you guys again next time. Bye guys!